Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Hey, I am Ina and I'm from Norway, and I have a question for IKYA today, because IKYA often speaks about how life is guiding us and about the different maps that we make based on the information we receive from the physical reality, and also how we can use that information to improve our own dialogue with life and our ability to navigate our own path. And yet still I wonder, how does this happen? And how can we learn to study this even more efficiently and to be more active in that dialogue? Thank you.
Life is always guiding you, but not always in the way you think. There are two major ways of guiding, and I'll explain to you the differences. Now, for the greater part of your existence, you are still spiritually asleep, which means that your consciousness are kind of bound to the incarnation that you're in, which means that the whole sense of self comes from, in this case, when you are in a human body, and your essence is incarnating, and it passes through your brain. What comes out on the other side is your horizontal consciousness and the self identity that is being produced by the body. And that is the horizontal consciousness. As we grow, we're also able to open up to experience the vertical part of our consciousness, which is outside the lifetime, at the same time as being in the lifetime. So you're able to have more fun with it, and you are aware that you are in an incarnation. Now, when we are in that horizontal state, we will be reactive. Now, most life forms, when we look at them, they simply go around and react to things. This is also how nature ensures evolution. There is something happening, then the life form is being triggered, then we react, and then the conflict will show, is our strategies productive or not? If not, we die or we'll have to adapt. So it's all based on triggering reaction, because we have no true awareness. So then, at that point, we don't need any guidance, because we are being mirrored through our being triggered and through our reactions, and that will show us, is this working or not? And the expansion of consciousness follows that. So, life will not actively guide you. There's no point. You have more than enough reacting to whatever happens. And even as a human, you can go through the day reacting several thousand times. And you think that you're being active, but you get a thought, you get an emotion, you get an idea based on something happening outside of you, and then you're reacting to it. Seldomly, you will behave from the flow coming through. You will be in a state of reaction. When you are in that level of consciousness, your guidance will be passive, because it will be only your own echo. It will be you reacting, and then life will react to that. So this will be this ping pong of reactions, and because you cannot stop your reactions and you being triggered, you will then, through your chemicals and genetics, be forced to do certain things and develop certain strategies and into certain actions that will assist you eventually in survival. It's all you can take, it's all you need. And your maps will be the result of experience, both genetically and the type of experience you have in your life. So in your genetics, you already have a certain map, which will decide how you behave in certain situations and how you should deal with things, okay? So, for instance, fear, that's genetic. Throughout evolution, your body, your life form has learned to fear certain situations, certain things, which means that is smart. So you will have that fear. That is based on your inner map. And then the map is supposed to be updated. That's your job as a life form, is to have new experiences and then improving the map before you then have kids, so that they will be born with a slight better map. That's evolution. It's all you need. And your consciousness and the expansion will follow that. Now, once you start waking up spiritually, a huge shift happens. Because then you start discovering yourself independently of your horizontal existence, which means you get a sense of self that is not horizontal, which therefore does not react. This is the easiest way to determine whether you are in a horizontal consciousness or a vertical one. Because when you are in the vertical one, you will not be triggered. You can't be. You will not react. You will act. You will always be the starting point. You can observe the world. And then you will listen to your flow, and then how that will express itself as a co-creative manifestation. You never react. So when that happens, and when there's somebody home, it means simply walking around in life reacting to things are now not the most efficient way for you to walk your journey. You're going from the passenger seat in the car to the driver's seat. When you cannot be triggered, it means that you can actually make choices. Because when you're being triggered, you're never choosing. We think we are. I got triggered, so I chose to do that. No. Programmings. All reactions are programs. You don't have to think, because you get those chemicals, those signals, and it's telling you to do that. Programs. You never choose. You just think you are. You can only make real choices when you're able to choose something else than your reactions and your triggers and your maps. Which means you need to connect to the greater landscapes, the bigger pictures. It's only then. And when you, through spiritual work, has gotten to the point where you can observe your feelings, observe your thoughts, observe your reactions, and just look at them and say, that's interesting. But it does nothing. You can recognize that, you're a life form. The body you've incarnated into, that's how it operates, but you don't operate that way. You operate from higher consciousness, and you let that come through. Only then you're in the driver's seat. And from that point, life will start guiding you actively. Because there's somebody home. Why would a spiritual teacher or being like myself give, driving instructions to someone sitting in the back seat? And that's it. As long as you're in the back seat, there's no point in active guidance. It's only when you drive. And it's not a black and white thing, because as many of you experience, sometimes you can be in that more vertical consciousness and you can observe your patterns and you're able to choose actively. And sometimes you're just completely in the horizontal and you're a slave by your own programs. That's fine. Spiritual teachers will only guide actively when you're in the driver's seat. And when you want to drive, and when you're then not being triggered. Because otherwise, you will just be moving in your patterns and nothing else. And then you're already pre-programmed to behave certain ways, so we don't have to interfere. So spiritual awakening is moving into that vertical state where we are not reactive anymore. And then the dialogue with spiritual guides, spiritual masters, whatever you want to call it, become more concrete. Because when in the horizontal state, you're not able to move beyond your programmings. In the vertical, you can move anywhere. So if your program is telling you to react this way and do that, you can just go over there instead, because that looks fun. You can relate to your journey and your karma in a very different way, because you also realize that your karma is not bound to or limited by certain manifestations. You don't have a karma to a certain person or a certain place. It's simply your level of consciousness and evolution in this very moment, and it's being mirrored in life. In the horizontal, you will believe that it's that manifestation of that person did this to me, and therefore I have some unfinished business. It's that thing. In the vertical, you just realize, oh, my own level of consciousness is my responsibility. It's me. And I am in a communication with life through all these manifestations, but it's the same being. It's life. It's that pure consciousness of isness having discussions and dialogues with me and how to study and figure out how I can become more awake, how I can drive more creatively and learn about what is beyond my karma. So then you realize, oh, because my karma is simply what I vibrate, my level of consciousness at any given moment, I can work on that wherever I go, because wherever I go, there I am. And life is there too. So the setting and the expression is something I can choose. I can be creative. I can have fun. And then we will step into the picture and try to show you places in yourself, in life, that you haven't been to. New settings that can make you reinvent and completely change how you understand a certain spiritual principle or understand your karma. Because sometimes, or very often, when we are in the reactive state, we have a tendency to do the same thing over and over and over again. We move in patterns, we move in circles. And sometimes just moving over there can give us a new way to explore ourselves and our karma. You can only do that when you are behind the wheel. So the karmic approach and the spiritual journey becomes so much more creative, so much more fun. And you can have completely new experiences that will redraw your map and expand it. You can only do that when in real dialogue. And when someone is in the process of awakening, then we step in. Because then there is a point to the conversation. And you can then influence your horizontal maps. Now, as I've explained before, you're born with a certain type of map, both genetically and your karma and belief systems and what you enter this lifetime with. In your brain, because you are supposed to update the map so it can be passed on to the next generation, it means that in your brain, you will have a preference for what you learn through experience. When you go into a new experience, your current programs will determine how you react. But then you are supposed to learn, okay, is this working or not? How can I then change my response so it's more productive? So evolution requires that you have a reaction, but also the ability to learn from what happens next. So when you learn that, doing this, which is a contradiction to my current maps or programming, if that works better, your brain is designed to prefer that. Because it's about survival, it's about, doing things better, getting better results. And this we can use. So when we start to wake up and we actively choose to do something else than our programs, and it works better, it promotes healing, it promotes growth in a whole new way, Your genetics will say, well, that works better, let's do that. And it means you can make enormous leaps in your growth, even as a human, because it's not about just, changing the details of the map anymore. You can expand it. You can create whole new sections of it. And your brain is programmed to prefer it as long as it works. And it will, because you will get into a deeper sense of healing, deeper sense of who you are, deeper level of satisfaction. Everything that you are genetically programmed to seek. And that's also why it's so important to incarnate our insights. Because when they work better, you can completely take over your own lifetime. You can take over this body and this brain. And you will no longer be blocked or dominated by your own genetics. These old patterns, your memories, everything that we thought was, so terrible, and everything you haven't healed yet, it will be gone. That is only relevant as long as you are using the old maps. When you actively train yourself to make different choices, go into different spaces, explore life, and get better at everything, your brain will always choose that. And it comes to a tipping point where their brain recognizes that, there are so many changes here that I cannot rely on the old maps at all. We're already pre-programmed to do that in case of catastrophe. When there is a catastrophe, the brain will go, old maps gone, you will have a new priority. So we can use these biological programmings to incarnate the spiritual consciousness and to activate the real dialogue. And it starts with moving out of reaction and triggering. And as long as you react, as long as you can be triggered, you're in the horizontal state of consciousness. You can't say, I was in the vertical, but then someone did something and I got triggered. No. In the vertical state, you cannot be triggered. You make your choices and create your expression directly from your flow. So practice that. But understand that your body and your patterns are not in your way. When you're able to concretely live your insights, when you are behind the wheel, you drive where you want to go. And you're free from your patterns. And that's what we're trying to do here. That's what people who study with me try to achieve. It's accelerating our spiritual growth and spiritual expansion beyond the maps, beyond what you were born with. Because when the brain realizes that, you're free to be whoever you want to be, to do whatever you want to do, to go wherever you want, because the brain says, we might as well throw away those old maps. You get into a sense of freedom where absolutely everything is possible. Not just the state that you're in meditation, the state of omniness, 360 degrees perspective. And that sense of total freedom, that total sense of flow, that will be incarnated. And that's where true awakening starts.